Starting an immigration process can be extremely painful, confusing, and sometimes we don't even want to do it, but we need to do it. I am with you in that. So remember, your emotional health is extremely important for emotions in harmony. And this is why, if this is a concern for you, we have this conversation with Kristin Boscia, who is an immigration lawyer. She's going to answer all the basic questions and more. Stay with us. Living in harmony is possible if you know your emotions and how to handle them. I am Dr. Carmen Roman, and I will share with you the current psychology by myself or by interviewing experts who will inspire you. Learn how to live a life of fullness and how to recover your emotional harmony. Welcome to Emotions in Harmony. Welcome back, my dear amigos in harmony. In this interview with Kristin Boscia, we are going to talk about these very sensitive questions, the questions that is very difficult to pick up the phone and ask to a lawyer. Yeah. So it's a meaningful conversation. Kristin Boscia is my favorite lawyer because I know her work and I know how much dedication she puts into her cases. This is why I was at ease asking these questions. Is an attorney at law who specializes helping immigrant families. After law school, she worked in the Bay Area, in the largest organization in Bay Area, helping families who were in domestic violence. Then, in 2012, she opened her private practice, and now she focuses in helping families to stay in the United States or to bring family members to the United States. She is bilingual. Actually, this episode is now in English, but if you go to the podcast Armonía Emocional, it will be in Spanish. Stay with us for these meaningful conversations. And let us know. Let us know if there is something we missed. Let us know if there is something what else we can do for you. For now, enjoy it. Hello again, my dear amigos in harmony. I am so happy you are here. As you know, we are here with Kristin Boscia. And the goal today is for you to get informed and get better decisions when you are going to hire a lawyer. This process of immigration is already too stressful. So we want for you to be ready, ask the appropriate questions, hire the appropriate services. So here we go. Thank you, Kristin, for being with us. How are you today?
I'm great today. Thank you.
Yeah. And let's start with the topic. First of all, thank you. I really appreciate and I really respect your services. I really respect your honesty and integrity. This is why we want you to tell us about this difficult process of hiring a lawyer and hiring services that has to do with legal services. So how can a family prepare themselves for an immigration process, whatever the immigration process is?
I think the first thing is making sure that you have all of your information and your documents ready. That's one of the first things that I'm going to ask you about, whether it's on the phone when we're scheduling the appointment or when you come into the office, because we want to figure out if this person has options, and if they have options, what are those going to look like? So by information, I mean, I want to know about the person's immigration history, when they first entered the United States, how they first entered, if it was with a visa or without a visa. I want to know if they ever left the United States since that time, and if they were ever stopped at the border or stopped at the airport. Anything like that would be relevant information. So it's important for people as they're preparing to talk to a lawyer to have an idea about your history. And so if you can take a few minutes to write that down before you come in, or if you need to call someone, maybe you need to call your parents or your siblings, or somebody else who can help you remember the dates. That would be really helpful. And in terms of documents, I mean, gathering things like your birth certificate, if you already have a passport from your home country, your marriage certificate, your children's birth certificates, all of those are relevant documents. So I would encourage you to gather all of those. I love it when clients come in and they have a folder full of all of these documents, the information written down. That's what makes me feel so excited to work with someone who's organized.
They already save fees on that, yeah? They already saved your time and their time, I guess. Yeah, so be organized. Excellent. Be organized with all data you may need. What are, okay, they organized their folder. What they need to say to you or to any lawyer in the first phone call, what they need to ask, for example.
So when I first get on the phone with a potential client, and I like to talk to clients on the phone in advance of scheduling them for an appointment, because I just want to get a little bit of background information to have an idea if it's a type of case that I handle or not. I have some people who call in for an appointment and they have a good idea already how they might qualify. For example, maybe this person is married to a US citizen, or maybe they have a US citizen child that's turning 21 years old. Maybe the person was a victim of a crime, so they think they might qualify for a U visa, something like that. But I have some people who call in and say, I need immigration status and I have no idea where to start. I don't know how I might qualify, but I want to see if there are any options available for me. That's okay too. But I would just say, if you have an idea about how you might qualify, let me know that. Otherwise, I'll start asking you some questions to see what we might be doing. For example, I don't handle employment-based immigration cases. So once I find out that that's the only option, I'm glad to refer people to some of my other colleagues who are competent and handle that type of case. Or if it turns out that the person can only qualify for political asylum, I'm not handling political asylum cases right now, but I have lots of colleagues who do handle those cases. Mm-hmm. And I love being able to give a person a good referral for someone who I know is ethical and competent and honest. I love to be able to give referrals. It takes time out of my day to look for the right referral for someone, but I think it's a really important service that I can do for my community and for my profession.
Yeah, that's true. What they need to ask about credentials? What is it that qualifies a lawyer to be immigration lawyer?
That's a great question. So with immigration law, this is a unique area of law because you can practice anywhere in the United States as long as you're licensed in at least one state. That's unique because, for example, if I want to go do a criminal defense case in Santa Clara County or divorce or custody, you need to be licensed in the state of California. But immigration, because it's a federal practice area, you can be licensed in any state. And I think that sometimes that gets people into trouble because if you're looking for a criminal defense attorney or divorce, custody, you can look in the State Bar of California. We have a great website, and when you're considering a lawyer or looking for a lawyer, you put in that lawyer's name and it tells you right on the website if that person is licensed or not, and if that person has had disciplinary proceedings against them for not handling a case appropriately or not being honest with their client, not handling the client finances appropriately. So you can see that right on the website. That's a great tool. But if you're looking for an immigration lawyer, you don't know, is this person licensed in California or maybe they're licensed in Oregon or New York? So I think it can be harder for people who are looking for an immigration lawyer because you are not sure where to start. So you can ask the lawyer, what state are you licensed in? And you can go, every state has their own website for the Bar Association, and you can look that person up. And I think that's a very important thing to do. Make sure that the person that you're considering hiring doesn't have disciplinary proceedings against them or hasn't had their license taken away. I actually have a good number of cases that were being handled by a person here in Santa Clara County who used to be licensed. That person had their license taken away, and that person still kept practicing. And unfortunately, those clients ran into some problems. So they transferred their case to my office. But it's really something important to look into to make sure that your person is licensed. And another thing, if you're considering an immigration lawyer, one area I think is important to look at is our professional organization. It's called American Immigration Lawyers Association, or AILA, AILA.org. AILA also has a website where if you're looking for an immigration lawyer, you can go on the website, and maybe you don't know a particular person's name, but you are living in a certain area, or you want somebody who speaks a particular language or handles a particular type of case. And I think that's a great tool to be able to find potential lawyers. So in San Jose, we have lots of options for people like myself who are Spanish-speaking immigration lawyers who handle family-based immigration cases. But if you're looking for an employment-based immigration attorney, or you need a lawyer who practices in Los Angeles, or you live in Texas, there are all sorts of different options. And I think that's a great way to look for people. Now, immigration lawyers don't have to belong to AILA, but I think it's a good indication that if a person belongs to AILA, they probably really are an immigration lawyer. My concern is that there's some people who maybe practice other areas of law and then think, oh, I can handle an immigration case. It's just filling out forms. But we know that's not the case. Yeah. Immigration is a very complicated area of law. That's why I'm really particular about the specific types of cases that I handle, because you just have to get it exactly right. And so I think it's important that you find someone where it's a good fit personally, but also the person has experience on the type of case that you need handled.
You don't know that, and I am going probably to say something about you that will make you laugh. But what I say to my clients sometimes when I refer them to you is, if your case gets complicated, you want Kristin on it. because I remember when I first met you, it was because of a client, and it got extremely complicated. Mm. And we needed to move so fast, even when the evaluation that you made me work over the weekend to have the evaluation ready. But it was really complicated, and it was moving fast. It needed to be moved fast. And this is what it gave me the assurance that you care for the families. Because that family had children. And you told my client, we are going to do it because we want your children to be safe. Yeah. And you probably don't even remember the case. That was many years ago. But for me, it was the indicator that a lawyer needs to be committed with your case. Yeah. It's kind of a commitment. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I love about this practice area is biased, but I think immigration law is the most interesting area of law. Yeah. And I think you can do so much good. And I love getting to know my clients and their families. And I think that having immigration status and protection makes such a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
And yes, I remember that family. That's why we do this work, because it really matters.
Because it really matters. It's changing lives, it's somebody's lives. How do we know when a lawyer is charging a fair price? Because lately I have been listening very different stories from my clients. Some of them, they are paying enormous amount of money. How do we know when it's a fair thing?
That's a great question. And honestly, immigration lawyers sometimes struggle with how to charge appropriately as well. Immigration law in general, a lot of us charge flat fee, which means at the beginning of the case, we say, this is what I'm going to charge you. And you know that this is what it's going to cost for the whole part of the case, unless there's extra things that come up. Which is different than a lot of other practice areas where the lawyer charges you by the billable hour. So how much time they spend on the case. You know what their hourly rate is, but you don't know how many hours it's going to take. So I like flat fee because my clients know how much it's going to cost them. But it's hard as a lawyer, honestly, because we know how much time a case would usually take for this type of case. And sometimes it ends up, for example, if you're very organized and you make it very efficient, then maybe that makes it so it's more efficient for me. But sometimes I have clients who are not very organized and it ends up taking much more time, or a case appears to be not super complicated, but then it turns out that the facts change or other information is revealed during the case that makes it end up being more complicated. Honestly, one problem I'm dealing with a lot right now is it's not me, it's not my client, it's the immigration agency. I've been dealing with these 3 cases in the last couple of months where immigration improperly rejected my client's case. And I've had to go back and forth getting assistance from different agencies. I've sent in the cases 3 times. So I would have predicted that these cases were going to take this much time, but I don't think it's fair for me to charge more. It's not the client's fault. It's not my fault. And we need to get immigration to just do their job correctly. So sometimes I charge the right amount and sometimes I don't. And on those cases, I feel like I didn't charge enough, but that's okay. But how would you know if it's a fair price or not? I think similarly to when you're looking for a lawyer, you need to ask other people. So if you have other family members or friends who've gone through this process, that's an important way to find a reputable lawyer. And that's a good way to find what prices might be reasonable. But what I say is that there's always a range. And I think that for my practice, I really pride myself on being a tiny office. It's just me. And I have some help with some of the administrative tasks, and I have somebody who helps me with answering the phones, but I do all the work myself, which is different than some of the other offices where there's lots of people working on the case. And I probably could make more money if I hired a lot of staff and took on more cases. But for me, I really want to know the clients and I want to know what's going on in each person's case. I want to be able to talk to my clients when they have questions. So for me, I think that that's worth it to charge a little bit more to have access to your lawyer and know that your lawyer is going to call you back and is going to know what's going on in your case. I have lots of clients who used to work with a different person, but they were dissatisfied when that person wouldn't call them back in a timely manner, or maybe was offering to charge a less amount, but just wasn't providing good service. That being said, I'm not the most expensive in the market either. I think that there's other places that have fancier offices or are more tech savvy. So I don't have a fancy office.
Mm-hmm.
And so there might be some clients who come to my office and say, I don't know if I want to hire this person.
Yeah.
But I think it's about what's important to you. And I work really hard to keep my expenses low so that I can charge clients reasonable rates. And so I can take on just the kinds of cases that I really want to work on and that I have experience on.
Yes, that's important. So it's when hiring a lawyer, you need to be able to trust. You need to be able to trust the process and see if the lawyer is going to be there for you or it has sometimes 20 assistants and you will never meet the lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
When I do evaluations, immigrations, I request to talk to the lawyer. And sometimes it's the assistant and the assistant and the assistant. And I say, I cannot do that. Needs to be the lawyer because it's difficult. Yeah. Doing the evaluation of immigration is already difficult. So the next question I have for you is, will the new immigration regulation affect the people who already start the immigration process or only will apply to the ones who starting from now on?
When you say the new immigration regulation, are you referring to the public charge rules or what are you referring to?
The new changes in immigration. That makes sense, my question?
Well, I mean, I want to clarify because especially in the last 3.5 years, things have been changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to know exactly what you're talking about because
I know.
different changes. But one of the most recent changes that's really affecting a lot of people is the public charge rule. So this is part of this administration's effort to make it harder for people to get their green card. And one of the ways that they're doing that is creating new forms and new requirements. So this used to be kind of more black and white. We have what's called an affidavit of support that a person fills out saying that they make enough money financially to sponsor this family member. And either the person makes enough money or they don't. But now with the public charge rules, there's more factors. So the affidavit of support is still in there and it's one factor, but there are lots of other factors that immigration wants to know about. So for example, they want to know, does this person who's applying for their green card have health insurance or not? If they have health insurance, is it private health insurance or is it subsidized by the government? They want to know, does this person have a credit score? And if so, what is their credit score? They want to know, what is this person's assets? What are their liabilities and the liabilities for the household? So I think that it's been hard for lawyers with these new rules that started. They were implemented on cases that were filed February 24th, 2020 and after. But I can't imagine being a person who's self-represented. I just had someone call yesterday who said, gosh, we spent a lot of time researching. We filled out all the forms. We thought we got everything right. We sent it in and the case was rejected because we didn't include this new form. Now we're trying to figure out how to fill out this form and trying to figure out what evidence they need. And we realize we need help. So I think that that's a really big change for people. It may have been that in the past, people were able to do a green card case on their own, or maybe hire someone like a notary, notario, like a tax preparer kind of person who's not a lawyer, but could do enough to help a person apply without a lawyer. But now I just really encourage people to consider getting a lawyer because it's really complicated. And I have clients who ask me, well, why are they making it so hard? Why is this is so difficult to figure out? And I just would say, this is where we are politically. This administration has made it very clear that they want fewer people to get their green card. And this is what you do. If you want fewer people to get their green card, you make it very difficult, if not impossible, for some people.
What I tell my clients is like, just sit with a lawyer, ask how much it is, because you may spend that money in a quinceañera.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
we want that quinceañera to have her parents forever in this country. And the party probably will last one day. This is decisions sometimes, decisions about how you play your cards with the immigration process. And I really insist with my families, is like, get the proper lawyer. Notarios in Mexico are very highly educated, even lawyers. They are lawyers. This is the confusion here. So when you hear a notario here, they don't need to be lawyer educated. They can be in UPS, or they can be somewhere you signing, getting sure that you are the same person that signs a document. This is a misinformation for our Latino community here. See, because notarios are not lawyers here. Yeah.
And it's really scary because I think that if your friend or your neighbor or your family member has used a notario or a tax preparer and it was fine for them, you think, okay, well, it'll be fine for me too. But sometimes it's okay and they are able to do a fine job. But if they get it wrong, you can do so much damage in immigration cases. And Santa Clara County has a unit in the sheriff's department where they investigate notario fraud, and the district attorney's office prosecutes these cases. They bring criminal charges against people for unlawful practice of law, but as soon as they take down one person, there's another one that opens up, and they don't have all the information. So the sheriff, the district attorney's office need people to tell them about these people who are doing unauthorized practice of law. But I think some people are scared to report. And so it's a really difficult situation right now. And I want to encourage people to look beyond what you see in your neighborhood. And sometimes it's hard to find someone, but I think it's important to find someone who is licensed and can give good legal advice.
I have 2 questions from our Facebook group. Those questions are in Spanish, so I will keep those questions for the time when we record our episode in Spanish. Because I think it's important that they listen in their own language. And if you are listening here in the Emotions in Harmony podcast, I want to let you know that Kristin and I are going to produce a similar episode in Spanish with the same questions, but now in Spanish. And we are going to answer these 2 other questions. And the podcast is Armonía Emocional. And the reason is, we want for your parents or your family members that are only Spanish speakers to listen for themselves. So you don't need to translate. Something may get lost in translation. Yeah. So we want to produce this material for you also in Spanish. So look for that. Look for the podcast Armonía Emocional. We want to be respectful with every language. Yeah. Yeah. So, Kristin, where they can find you?
You can find me online, www.boscialaw, BOSCIALAW.com. You can call me 408-658-8470. You can check me out on Yelp. I also have a Facebook business page where I share updates about what's happening with immigration law. We're happy to receive.
So they can find you. We are going to put list all your links so they can find you. So if you are driving, if you are at home doing something else and you don't want right now to take a paper to write, don't worry. In the notes, it's going to be there, everything. And you can also look Kristin Boscia. You have the name here in the video. And you can look Kristin Boscia or boscialaw.com. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Kristin, for being with us. You are so kind.
Thank you for having me.
we have reached the end of another episode of the podcast Emotions in Harmony. See you the next week. Visit www.emotionsinharmony.org, where you can subscribe, find the notes, and be in direct contact with me. Thanks for listening.